Good morning, everyone. I want to talk with you today about two major storm systems that are heading our way across the United States. Both of these weather systems are bringing significant challenges, including dangerous severe weather with the possibility of tornadoes today in the Southeast and Ohio Valley regions. Meanwhile, a substantial snowstorm is taking shape across the northern plains, the Midwest, and the Great Lakes area, timed perfectly with Thanksgiving week. In certain areas, we are looking at snowfall totals that could reach 24 inches. Today, I will carefully walk you through all the important weather information you need for the next 7 days across our country. Let us begin by looking at what is unfolding today. Thanksgiving is just 2 days away, and right now, a powerful storm system is making its way through the Southeast, including what we call Dixie Alley. This particular area is forecast to experience more severe thunderstorms today, bringing risks of damaging winds, hail, and potentially a few tornadoes. At the same time, we have another substantial storm system moving across the northern plains. Now, here is what makes this interesting. This system is going to merge with what remains of our southeastern storm later in the day. This merger is quite significant because it will generate the energy needed to produce the threat of heavy snowfall tonight and into tomorrow. This will particularly affect areas such as North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So we have some major weather developments coming in the next few days. Now, I have quite a bit to cover in today's forecast, including threats of snow, severe weather, and yet another large storm system that will follow Thanksgiving. Let me spend some time discussing the severe weather outlook for today. This is particularly important because we are dealing with a tornado risk. The Storm Prediction Center has placed a slight risk of severe weather over central Alabama and southeastern Mississippi. We also have a marginal threat extending into southeastern Tennessee and along the Gulf Coast area. Our primary concern today centers on tornadoes. The Storm Prediction Center has identified a 5% tornado probability within that slight risk zone. This is definitely a day when you want to remain weather aware. Please ensure you have several different ways to receive weather alerts and warnings. Make certain your tornado safety plan is ready and everyone in your household knows what to do. We may have live weather coverage on this channel later today, featuring experienced storm chasers providing real-time updates. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel and activate the bell notification so you will know if we go live. In my assessment, today's tornado risk is somewhat elevated compared to what we saw yesterday across the Deep South. The reason for this has to do with the curved patterns in our wind profile aloft, which will align perfectly with the size and structure of the storms we expect today. Let me explain this in simpler terms. The thunderstorms we see today will not be particularly tall structures, but they are going to take full advantage of the strong wind shear present across the southeast today. By late this morning, we will have conditions that are quite supportive for at least a couple of rapidly developing tornadoes. This will mainly affect central and southern Alabama, lasting through the noon hour. After 12 o'clock, I anticipate the intensity will pick up a bit. I believe our highest tornado risk will occur from approximately 11 in the morning through about 4 this afternoon. We have favorable conditions in a corridor stretching anywhere from Huntsville, Alabama, down through Mobile, where several rotating supercell thunderstorms may form. These are going to be relatively small, compact storms, but make no mistake, any storm that develops in today's environment will have the capability to produce tornadoes. In general, our atmospheric conditions will support tornado development right through sunset this evening. After the sun sets, I expect activity to diminish. But all told, today's setup is certainly favorable for tornado formation. Now, let me give you the timeline for today's severe weather, starting with current conditions. Right now, we have an extensive line of thunderstorms rolling through Alabama and Georgia. This line of storms is actually creating more stable conditions across northern Alabama and northwestern Georgia at this moment. But as we progress through the morning hours, that line will weaken rather quickly. This will open the door for individual storms to fire up by late morning into the early afternoon hours. As early as 10 or 11 o'clock, we may see a couple of rotating supercells start to organize and potentially spawn tornadoes. Around 11 o'clock near the Mobile area and continuing through 12 to 1 o'clock, storms will advance toward the northeast. You will notice these storms will be quite small in scale across the region. However, any of these storms can develop rotation in today's atmospheric setup. We may see the threat of several tornadoes through the late morning and early afternoon timeframe. By 3 to 4 o'clock this afternoon, we will still be watching conditions that remain favorable for tornado development, especially across central Alabama, just outside Huntsville. I do think we could see 1 or 2 tornadoes develop in this corridor during the middle to late afternoon hours. After 6 o'clock tonight, storm activity should start winding down. We are going to see increased capping take hold, which in simple terms means warmer air will move in at higher levels of the atmosphere, making it harder for storms to develop. Through the overnight hours, conditions will be much calmer across the southeast, with just a few lingering thunderstorms across the Carolinas and southeastern Georgia. Wednesday brings much quieter weather to the southeast. Now, while all of this is taking place, we are also going to see considerable snowfall develop over the next couple of days, especially throughout the northern plains and Midwest regions. Earlier this morning, heavy snow was already moving through northern Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Late this afternoon into this evening, that snow will advance into far northern Wisconsin. We are talking about snowfall rates that could reach 3 to 4 inches every hour. Friends, that is quite substantial. This is really going to intensify overnight tonight across places like northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan, where some communities could see upwards of 18 to 24 inches of total snowfall by Wednesday afternoon. All of this accumulation will occur within roughly 24 hours. By late Wednesday afternoon, heavy snow will persist across the upper peninsula of Michigan. Most of Michigan will experience at least some lake effect snow moving through the region. As we transition into late Wednesday and early Thursday, snow will continue across the upper peninsula of Michigan without much relief. Then, lake effect snow will intensify on Thanksgiving Day itself around Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. In those areas, snowfall rates will probably be around 1 to 2 inches each hour. Throughout Thanksgiving Day, snow will keep falling across the Great Lakes region and portions of the Northeast before things finally start settling down on Friday. But even Friday, I still anticipate lake effect snow will persist around Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. For areas like Michigan, though, conditions will definitely improve by Friday. All in all, we are looking at a considerable amount of snowfall over the next several days. Much of this snow will accumulate in a very compressed time frame. Now, let me talk about our snowfall totals. We are looking at significant accumulations over the coming days. A broad area of 6 to 12 inches of snow is forecast stretching from North Dakota through the upper peninsula of Michigan. But many locations in northern Wisconsin and throughout the upper peninsula of Michigan will receive anywhere from 12 to 24 inches of snow. I genuinely believe we could see accumulations exceeding 24 inches in select areas, particularly across the far western sections of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Some locations could actually approach 3 feet of total snow when everything is finished. This will result from the combination of our low pressure system and lake effect snow working together. When these two mechanisms combine, we get very impressive snowfall amounts. Throughout most of Michigan and around Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, we are going to find some localized areas receiving between 1 and 2 feet of snow. Generally speaking, if your location is farther inland or away from the lake shores, we are not anticipating quite as much accumulation. Most inland areas will see around 3 to 6 inches of snow arriving just in time for Thanksgiving. However, if your home is right along the immediate shorelines, especially in northwestern Michigan, far western New York, northwestern Pennsylvania, or around Watertown, New York, these will be the hotspot locations where localized totals could reach 1 to 2 feet. Beyond those concentrated areas, expect widespread totals of 3 to 8 inches. Once this winter storm moves through, we are going to see quite a different weather pattern develop. As we head into this coming weekend and next week, which brings us to the start of December, our overall weather pattern will be dominated by a large, low-pressure system positioned along the desert southwest and the west coast. This pattern will essentially pump abundant moisture into the Great Plains, the Southeast, and the Ohio Valley regions. Next week, we are going to establish what I call a battle zone, where we will see a sharp boundary between very cold air and very warm air. This sets up a battle zone for severe weather, along with snowfall and possibly even some ice in certain locations. We might actually see multiple storm systems develop next week, or perhaps just 1 or 2 storms that produce all of these various weather hazards. That includes snow, severe thunderstorms, and various other weather problems. Shortly, I will discuss this in more detail. Overall, this weather pattern developing for early December reminds me quite a bit of what we experienced earlier this year in January or February, when we dealt with several winter storms that brought ice, snow, and severe weather all happening simultaneously. The bottom line is that the first week of December is definitely a week that demands your close attention for potential weather hazards. I will discuss the future radar outlook momentarily. But right now, I want to show you the temperature outlook for the next 7 to 10 days. We have one surge of cold air arriving Wednesday and Thursday across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast regions. Unfortunately, this cold air is arriving just before Thanksgiving. This means most areas along the East Coast will have a rather chilly Thanksgiving on Thursday. That cold air will hang around Friday and Saturday. Then we have another push of cold air expected Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which will deliver even colder temperatures into the Great Plains, the Midwest, and throughout the Great Lakes. This means we are looking at persistently cold conditions for quite some time ahead, particularly if you call the Midwest home. We will probably see more waves of cold air arriving as we move into early December, especially affecting the Northeast. As we look toward the second week of December, the forecast becomes less certain. However, one thing appears quite likely: we will be dealing with plenty of cold air as we begin meteorological winter. Now let me simplify all of this using our future radar projection. Here is what the next few days look like. Again, our major winter storm will track across the Great Lakes and Northeast on Thursday and Friday. By Saturday, we will see at least a brief shot of snow across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. This has the potential to develop into a winter storm. It is just a bit premature to determine exactly what Saturday will bring. But I do believe at least some light to moderate snow is in the cards for those areas on Saturday. Moving into Sunday and Monday, severe weather may emerge as a concern across the Deep South and Southeast regions. Again, it is simply too soon to say with certainty what will develop there. Beyond this point, things get quite complicated. Our computer forecast models are showing considerable disagreement right now for anything past Sunday. One key factor we need to watch carefully is whether moisture will keep streaming out of the Pacific Ocean and whether high pressure will remain positioned north of all that moisture. If that scenario unfolds, we are very likely looking at a highly active start to next week, featuring significant snow, rainfall, and severe weather. However, that scenario may not materialize. The European forecast model has been indicating we may see a very quick-moving storm system on Saturday and Sunday. Following that, high pressure would rapidly move down from Canada, essentially suppressing any Pacific moisture and confining it to the Gulf Coast region. This scenario would make widespread winter storms and severe weather somewhat less probable for next week. So we currently have several possible scenarios on the table. With any luck, tomorrow's forecast will provide much better clarity about next week's weather. But no matter which scenario plays out, the next 7 to 10 days will be quite active weather-wise. Please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. We will make sure you are the first to know about any major weather changes that develop in the forecast.